Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Henrico County, Virginia, for the 2024 Virginia Sports Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. My name is Lane Casadonte. I'm the sports director here at WTVR, the CBS affiliate here in Richmond, Virginia. It is my honor to welcome everyone to the RVA and Henrico County's new Sports and Events Center. This is the first time in the 52-year history of our state's Hall of Fame that this event has been held outside of Hampton Roads. We hope that your experience tonight will reflect the new vision of this organization, establishment, and ceremony. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize the numerous sponsors that have helped us put this together and get this off the ground in support of the Hall of Fame and this induction weekend. The presenting sponsors are the Henrico Sports and Entertainment Authority and the Beck Foundation. The Hall of Fame induction weekend sponsors are Richmond Region Tourism, Dominion Energy, Richmond Times-Dispatch, Centera Health Plans, Henrico Economic Development Authority, William & Mary Athletics Foundation, DavCon, the Richmond Raceway, the Richmond Flying Squirrels, Rosie's Gaming in Colonial Downs, Rebke, WTVR CBS 6, and ESPN Richmond. While we are thrilled to have all of you here in attendance and in this brand new wonderful facility, we would also like to welcome everyone that's watching here in Richmond on CBS 6.3 and around the world at WTVR.com. This ceremony will be on our website. For those of you that would like to look at it tomorrow, it'll be archived and you should be able to find it on our website starting tomorrow. I have had the absolute privilege of covering sports here in Virginia for the last 30 years. And one of the things I love best about this job is the opportunity to celebrate achievement. And that's exactly what we're all about here tonight. This year's class touches every corner of the Commonwealth, from here in Richmond, down to Tidewater, back up to Northern Virginia, and even out to the Southwest. The class of 2024 has connections all throughout this state. There are 6 different colleges and universities represented here tonight. You're going to hear from All-Americans. You're going to hear from national and world champions. You're going to hear from an Olympic gold medalist. And you're going to hear from some of the great storytellers and people who have positively impacted their communities. And we who get to be with them and around them this weekend can't help but be inspired by their accomplishments, right? We'd all love to run like LaShawn Merritt, right? We'd love to shoot like Monica Wright Rogers, right? We would love to be as determined as Chris Long, as motivational as Rick Jeffrey. We'd all love to be as helpful as Dave Smith. We would all love to be able to lead like Jill Ellis and Hal Nunnally. And we would love to be able to constantly expand our influence like Craig Littlepage. And all of us would love to just sit back and watch it all happen like Paul Woody. This is not the first or only event that we've held up here this weekend. Earlier this morning, all of our inductees and our honorees got right here in this facility, right where you all are sitting, for the Breakfast with Champions event that was put on. Everybody got a chance to answer questions from the crowd, and there was an autograph session to get this year's class more in touch with the public at large that maybe has only seen and appreciated them from a distance. We'd like to thank the entire staff here at the Henrico Sports and Events Center for not just what they've done here tonight, but for putting on this morning's event as well. Before we get any further, as I mentioned, this is the first time that the Hall of Fame has brought its annual induction proceedings here to Central Virginia, and it's so special that we get to host this event in Henrico County's newest venue, the Sports and Events Center. And those of you seeing it for the first time, I know you're as impressed as the rest of us have been when we first walk in here. And here, on behalf of Henrico, we'd like to welcome to the stage County Manager John Vithoulkas.
Thank you, Lane. Good evening, everyone. So, Henrico County is absolutely thrilled to host the 51st Hall of Fame induction ceremonies in the county's brand new Sports and Events Center. You know, before I get any deeper into it, I'm going to ask Dennis Bickmeyer. Dennis, come on up here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had a plan, and then we hired Dennis Bickmeyer, and he took it to a whole other level. So this gentleman has worked really, really hard, not just on this event, but many, many events since the opening in November. You know, our friends in Hampton Roads, Lane mentioned it, have provided a solid foundation for this hall to exist, and our hope is that this year's induction only builds on that foundation, but also provides a springboard, if you will, for future growth in all areas of the Commonwealth. You were talking about that earlier. You know, I would personally like to thank Hall of Fame Executive Director Will Driscoll and the Hall of Fame Board of Directors for the confidence that you've placed in our county. You know, it brings me incredible personal honor to be the first to congratulate the 2024 class on your induction. You join a distinguished list of past inductees, not only in Virginia, but nationally. We are honored that many of them are here tonight to support your induction. You know, for us, there's a lot of kids' athletics, team athletics that are played at this facility. And your stories and career achievements in both athletic arenas and life will forever be memorialized by the displays in our lobby, serving as examples to the tens and thousands of youth and adults who visit this facility annually. I know that they will see these displays and dream about working hard and maybe one day join you in the Hall of Honor. We thank you all for all that you have accomplished now and in the future. And to this end, I'm going to ask Will Driscoll to come forward. This is a little unplanned, Will, but it's our facility. So Will, on behalf of Henrico County, on behalf of the Sports and Entertainment Authority, sports tourism has been very, very kind to our county very recently. Dennis and I would like to present you in the Hall of Fame with a check for $50,000. So, you know, we believe that this contribution will honor and preserve the legacy of sports excellence in Virginia and it supports the Hall's continuing efforts to build out displays here at the Sports Center, as well as support the Hall Scholar Athlete Program and student mental health awareness initiatives. Now, Will, I want you to know there's a guy named Pete Stith. He is in the audience, and Pete, initially we were thinking of a smaller contribution, and Pete just shook his head. So Pete Stith, he is a master fundraiser. So on behalf of the citizens of the county, welcome and congratulations to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame class of 2024. Dennis, thank you for everything that you've done on behalf of this facility. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a great evening.
Thank you, John. Didn't realize the Hall of Fame had an NIL deal. Everybody's got one. We're in the wrong business. Taking these inductions out on the road, out of the only home that they've ever known, wasn't done on a whim. There's been a lot of planning about this. And here to talk about the Hall and its future is the chairman of the board of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame and the 2024 Hall inductee. Please welcome Marty Miller.
Thank you so much, and good evening. I had prepared some remarks, but after receiving that check, I'm going to change a couple of things. First of all, I just want to thank you on behalf of the board for your attendance here this evening. This was a major decision for us to move this event out of the Hampton Roads community. For over 50 years, Hampton Roads actually was the home of our induction weekend. But as we began to think about our future, one of the things that emerged was the fact that we are the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and we represent the entire state. So as we had our discussion, the emphasis was on we have to market this great organization throughout every region in this state. This is the first step. And I can tell you, just from all the accolades that we received, this is a success, and I want to thank you. We don't take this lightly, because I've been having to answer to some individuals back in Hampton Roads about moving it. We never said that we were moving it permanently, but they are concerned. And when they hear about this $50,000 check, I think we're going to get some more emphasis from them. So we are going to continue down this road to market and brand the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, because every individual in this state should have the opportunity to engage in the activities that we conduct. Not only do we recognize outstanding athletes, coaches, administrators, sports writers, and all individuals in the world of athletics, but one of our charges has been to honor our student athletes. Every year, we have been awarding scholarships to student athletes because we have recognized that we have some students who are doing extremely well, not only on the field of competition, but in the classroom as well. So your presence here tonight will help us to continue support to do some of those endeavors. In addition, I want to congratulate the honorees for the induction into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Now, this is a big deal. It may not dawn upon them tonight how significant this is. It may be tomorrow morning, it may be next week, or it may be years down the road. But you will remember this evening as one of your greatest achievements. Because what this says is that you are considered the best of the best. And when you think about the thousands of student athletes, coaches, sports writers who have performed in this state, and you are one of the 360 plus individuals to receive this recognition, it's a big deal. And I want to congratulate you and your families. And finally, I just want to say, I'm issuing a charge to each of you, including the inductees. I would like for you to think about becoming an annual sponsor of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Not only can we continue to do what we are doing, we can continue to enhance and grow this organization. So sometime during the year, I'd like for you to go online, find the membership application, fill it out, and just send a small donation back. Because we want to grow this organization. And tonight, I can tell you, as the chair of the board, this is a success, and thank you.
One of the people who was key in getting the hall to branch out with this ceremony and having the vision to have it in a place like this outside of Hampton Roads. His car can now drive itself up I-64. I don't even think he needs to steer. He's made the trip that many times in the last 10 months. Please welcome the Executive Director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Will Driscoll.
Thank you. Well, it's going to be tough to take this smile off my face. I just want to thank, obviously, everybody who's already been up here. I promise that my component will be quick because we got a lot of great inductees that we need to hear from. But thank you, Marty, for your leadership as chairman of the board. And I'd like to echo all of Lane's comments as well. I may have written some of them, but not all of them. So I would like to echo those. But our Hall of Fame is special, and you can see it in our inductees and all of you who are here tonight. We've said it before, but tonight marks the 51st induction in the Hall of Fame's history, and also the first in Central Virginia. And after tonight, more than 360 inductees, people will be able to call themselves Virginia Sports Hall of Fame inductees. We are blessed to be joined tonight. I promise they're back there. We've been holding them back there for a while, but by a great group of past inductees. And it is my honor to introduce them now and welcome them here tonight. This is a group of individuals, male and female, athletes, coaches, and contributors that are the definition of why our Hall of Fame is special. So without further ado, please join me as we welcome a record-setting wide receiver for Richmond Spiders football and 1969 Southern Conference Player of the Year from the class of 1990, Walker Gillette. A 16-year Major League Baseball veteran, 1974 All-Star and 1984 World Series champion with the Tigers, class of 2015, Johnny Grubb. Our next inductee will be familiar to a few of you, 39 years as head football coach at William & Mary, 249 wins, 24 winning seasons, and 7 conference championships, class of 2023, Jimmy Laycock. Our 2023 Distinguished Virginian Award winner from Lynchburg, Virginia, and William & Mary football, big tribe crowd tonight. He is also the 2017 Gerald R. Ford Legends Award recipient from the Remington Trophy, Joe Montgomery. A longtime sports writer for the Richmond Times-Dispatch, From the class of 2003, Jerry Lindquist. A Danville native and the winningest baseball coach in the history of the CIAA and longtime Norfolk State Athletics Director and also our chairman of the board. From the class of 2014, please welcome back Marty Miller. Longtime sports information director for both James Madison University and the University of Virginia. From the class of 2016, Rich Murray. A Danville native and 17-year NBA veteran, the all-time leading scorer in University of Richmond men's basketball history. From the class of 2011, Johnny Newman. A two-time All-American shooting guard for the University of Virginia and the 1972 ACC Basketball Player of the Year. From the class of 2001, Barry Parkhill. An award-winning broadcaster, he spent over 40 years as a sports director for Wavy TV down in Hampton Roads and spent many nights presiding over this very event. From the class of 2020, Bruce Rader. A three-time national champion with Virginia Union University and the all-time winningest coach in Virginia men's college basketball history. From the class of 2010, Dave Robbins. A seven-time ACC Coach of the Year, 1991 National Coach of the Year, and the all-time winningest coach in Virginia women's college basketball history. From the class of 2012, Debbie Ryan. A Portsmouth native who would go on to star at tight end for the University of South Carolina and the Pittsburgh Steelers. From the class of 2004, J.R. Wilburn. And finally, he served 31 years as the head of the Colonial Athletic Association, a conference where at one time 6 member schools were from the Commonwealth. From the class of 2019, Tom Yeager. I would also like to quickly recognize a few additional guests we have. They don't need to stand, but we can please applaud. A 13-year NFL veteran, 8-time Pro Bowl selection, Super Bowl 18 champion, and 2000 inductee into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Howie Long. We're happy to have you here tonight. The current head coach for Penn State men's basketball. Prior to that, he spent 19 seasons here in Central Virginia, 10 with Randolph-Macon, 9 with VCU. Please welcome Mike Rhodes. We are also joined tonight by the Director of Athletics from the University of Virginia, Carla Williams. And from the College of William & Mary, we have Director of Athletics Brian Mann and School President Catherine Rowe. Got a lot of important people here, and we just got one more group I would like to recognize. We've already heard from County Manager John Vithoulkas. Thank you so much for your kind words and that check that's back there as well. But I also would like to welcome some more Henrico County leadership. This whole thing could not have come together if the leadership in the county did not buy into our vision as well. We have from the Three Chops District, Misty Whitehead. From the Fairfield District, Roscoe Cooper. Assistant to the County Manager for Intergovernmental Relations, Michael Schnerman. And finally, the Deputy County Manager for Community Operations, Stephen Yob. Thank you all for joining us. I promise I'm a man who likes to keep things moving at my events, so I promise I'm only going to be up here for just a little bit longer, but I do have a couple quick highlights that I would like to talk about before we get started. Tonight is our premiere night. Annually, it's our favorite night, and we look forward to it every year, but we as an organization are working constantly to evolve and create a Hall of Fame platform unique to the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're so thankful to Henrico County, the Sports and Entertainment Authority, for their support and their alignment with our vision for the Hall of Fame. I'd also like to recognize our staff, board of directors, and volunteers, and my family that has seen me take this drive a lot over the last 8 months. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so it definitely takes an all-hands-on-deck approach, and without all of their support, this would not be possible. Now, I was recently asked what I do for work, and I said to the person who asked that question, I'm the director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and they said, yeah, get that, but what do you actually do for work? And I said, no, this is my job. This is my actual job. We are a day-to-day operation that works to spotlight our core values of recognition, impact, and integrity. Recognition is tonight. Recognition is the exhibits that you see out in the lobby, the Hall of Honor with all the names of every inductee here in Henrico County, as well as in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and hopefully soon other locales throughout Virginia. Recognition is our content and events connecting our supporters to our great inductees. Impact is how we use sports as a platform to support youth and student athletes through our scholarships and mental health programming. We created a mental health alliance championed by the Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters in Norfolk, Virginia, one of the premier children's hospitals in the world. While we honor the best of the best, we also want to make sure the next generation understands the values and benefits of sports participation. Collectively, we need to create positive experiences through sports. Integrity is how we serve our role as the official Sports Hall of Fame in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I encourage you to read the program, visit our website, have a conversation with me or our board of directors, and learn about all that we do and all that we hope to accomplish. I thank you all for being here tonight and showing your support for this amazing class of inductees. With that, I'm done. I'm handing it back to Lane, and we're going to get this show started. Thank you so much.
Okay, like Will said, it is time to recognize some achievement. Our first order of business is something brand new for the Hall of Fame, not just being here, but a new award that singles out the Sportsperson of the Year award. And our new award is named after Steve Guback. It is the Steve Guback Sportsperson of the Year award. It recognizes an athlete, coach, team, administrator, or any individual who supports athletics and has distinguished themselves through outstanding athletic achievement during the 2023 calendar year. The award is in honor of 2005 Virginia Sports Hall of Fame inductee Steve Guback, who spent over 70 years in sports journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the screen for the inaugural recipient of the Hall of Fame's Steve Guback Sportsperson of the Year award. The inaugural Steve Guback Sportsperson of the Year award doesn't go to an individual, it goes to an entire franchise. The Norfolk Tides had one of the best seasons ever in 2023, not just in their history, but in baseball history. Beneficiaries of one of the best farm systems in baseball, the Tides stormed to a first-half championship in the International League with a 48-26 record, cementing their first playoff appearance in nearly a decade. Norfolk finished last year with a franchise record 90 wins and a plus 152 run differential before beating the Durham Bulls in 3 games to win their first IL title since 1985. Next up was a showdown with the Oklahoma City Dodgers, winners of the Pacific Coast League title for the AAA National Championship. Their 7-6 win in the clinching game secured their first ever national title. Manager Buck Britton was the IL Manager of the Year, and they were named Team of the Year by Baseball America. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the General Manager of the Norfolk Tides, Mr. Joe Gregory.
Thank you very much, Will, Marty, the board. I appreciate this recognition. Dennis, thanks for hosting. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces here. and making the drive up from Hampton Roads for the first time that it wasn't in Hampton Roads. It's definitely well worth the trip. There's a lot of people to thank for this, starting in Baltimore with Mike Elias, the general manager of the Orioles, Buck Britton, who we saw, the manager of the year, so many great players like Jackson Holliday, who just got called up to the majors, the #1 prospect in baseball. We've been fortunate to have a lot of great talent come through Norfolk with a lot of wins on the field. And as much as the support was there on the field, off the field, I couldn't do it without the amazing staff behind the scenes. I'm fortunate that Mike Watkins, my assistant general manager, is here, and Mike, I couldn't do it without you. And also the families behind the scenes with Maureen and Christina. Thank you for taking care of everything at home while we take care of things at the ballpark. Yeah, thanks. And it was a great year for wins. As mentioned, it was perhaps the greatest year in baseball. I know Parney might want to disagree with ever, but at least in Hampton Roads, it was the best year we had in quite some time. And the wins are nice, but I think the nice thing about minor league baseball is the wins aren't necessarily always measured by how many runs you score. I think it's about the impact you make in the community and the wins you make with charitable donations, those military community members, having those surprise return home from deployments, and what we can do in the local school system. Those are the wins that I think are important. And while we were fortunate enough to have this recognition this year, there's teams in Salem, in Lynchburg, in Fredericksburg, and here in Parney and Richmond that are having big wins throughout the year, that we may get this recognition tonight, but the impact that are being made throughout the state are phenomenal. So I want to thank you once again for recognizing the Tides, and look forward to being here tonight with all the inductees, and I want to congratulate all the inductees. But thank you for keeping us part of this, and hopefully we get to come back and do it again sometime. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, it is time to get to the class of 2024. There will be a short video extolling the virtues of each inductee. They will be presented in alphabetical order, lest you think we ranked them in some way. We didn't do that. It's all by alphabetical order. So, without any further ado, here is tonight's first nominee, or inductee, excuse me. From Fairfax, by way of the United Kingdom, Jill Ellis won a state championship at Robinson High and a U19 national championship with the Braddock Road Bluebells within weeks of each other. At William & Mary, she led the Tribe to 4 straight NCAA tournament appearances, reaching the Elite Eight in 1987 and scoring 32 goals in her collegiate career. Jill was an assistant coach at NC State, Maryland, and UVA before winning 248 games as head coach at Illinois and UCLA. She took the Bruins to the College Cup 8 times and was National Coach of the Year in 2000. She also won 2 gold medals as an assistant coach for the U.S. women's national team before being named head coach in 2014. Under her leadership, the U.S. women won back-to-back World Cups in 2015 and 2019, making her just the second coach in history, male or female, to accomplish that. Jill is already a member of the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame and currently serves as the team president for San Diego Wave FC in the National Women's Soccer League. Please welcome to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Jill Ellis.
This kind of sucks because I can't see anybody. It's so bright up here. Wow. Okay, let me get this straight. So I'm going to start in a different way. Today feels like putting on a well-worn, comfy slipper. It's like, when you come home from a long trip and you open the front door and you drop your bags and you sink onto the couch and you have this profound sense of comfort and belonging. This room feels like home. And it feels that way because those here supporting me today gave an awkward young kid an environment in which to grow, to compete, and feel wanted. I will be forever grateful to all of you whose path has crossed mine, and that intersection moved me forward. I'm sure many of you who knew me in those early years are going, how the hell did that happen, right? Because you knew me as the kid with the crazy accent, sophomore at Robinson High School. You knew me as the painfully shy and lacking enough confidence to even place an order at a restaurant for dinner. Megan McCarthy was the first friend I made in the US. A fierce competitor with a gentle soul, she made me feel welcome, included, and yeah, she ordered me burger and fries a lot. While playing for the Rams, Megan introduced me to the Braddock Road Bluebells and coach Mike Lavagetta. Looking back, it was a sliding door moment that changed my life. I always say to young coaches, create an environment that at training balances hard work and having fun. You want to make the kids come back to training. And well, Mike, he made me want to come back to practice. He elevated my love of the game. And when I joined the outstanding group of women, I learned firsthand what commitment and sisterhood looked like. I also learned that first feeling of hoisting trophies when we won the '84 national championship. Those were fun days for sure. I love playing soccer, and I want to take this moment to thank all the administrators and volunteers in youth soccer that give tirelessly to our sport to provide access. Playing in WAGs, traveling to youth tournaments were literally some of the fondest memories, and those experiences don't happen without good people doing good work on behalf of our youth, so thank you. My first foray into coaching was working for my father at Soccer Academy. It was on the fields of countless parks around Northern Virginia that I began honing a craft that at the time I never imagined would become my career. My dad wasn't able to join us today, but he influenced not just me, but so many young coaches. He was a masterful teacher, and for sure exemplified that having a glass half full attitude in life is critical if you want to move people. My dad was the consummate optimist. I mean, absolute top notch. I would call him frustrated and I'd be like, Dad, I cannot find my freaking wallet. And he'd be like, oh, imagine how excited you're gonna be when you find it. Or I'd call him and I had just gotten a speeding ticket and I was really pissed and he's like, oh my God, it's just a sign to slow down. Like this guy, well, there was a silver lining in every cloud for sure. My mom and dad always saw more in me than I saw in myself. Their support and sacrifice to give me my shot was fundamental to my journey. And without question, the support of my immediate family here today has buoyed me through the highs and the lows of coaching. It ain't easy, those of you that know, it ain't easy being in a coach's family. So Betsy, Lily, Paul, and Jennifer, thank you for all the love and always having my back. I quite literally found my tribe when I enrolled at William & Mary. Such a shy crew. It was here I found my voice, built lasting friendships, and realized that pressure actually brought out the best of me. Sure, at times that pressure was self-inflicted when I would regularly start my 20-page papers the night before they were due, but being surrounded by some of the best and brightest, demanding that every day we had to be sharp to be relevant. I love my time at the College of Knowledge, and I'm going to take an appropriate pause here to give my sisters a moment to be recognized and to acknowledge their presence. Ladies, hit it. You guys are funny. All right. I love my time. Oh, here we go. There you go. Threw me off, you guys. There aren't enough superlatives to describe my coaches and teammates at William & Mary. From the upperclassmen who took me under their wing to the 5 slots in the class of '88. And yes, I did say slots. I give them all so much credit in shaping me and the way I became and the coach I became. William & Mary was my incubator. In my time there, I struggled, I celebrated, I learned. But perhaps most significantly, looking back, I realized I was loved. You see, the care we took of each other was so very real, and the bonds we have today were built on the love we gave to each other back then, and I will be eternally grateful. To my fellow inductees and your families, I offer my heartfelt congratulations. It is a privilege to stand alongside you on this wonderful occasion. Your impact as MVPs and game changers has undoubtedly enriched sport beyond measure. And finally, to Will and the board, Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and all the staff that have pulled together this incredible weekend, your diligent work and pride are so greatly appreciated. Maya Angelou characterizes home as a safe place where we can go as we are. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be who I became. Thank you.
Boy, are we thankful for that import. Congratulations, Coach Ellis. The Virginia Sports Hall of Fame Distinguished Virginian Award is presented to an individual with a sports background who is a distinguished citizen of the Commonwealth based on an outstanding life accomplishment. Each awardee, by personal example, exemplifies the best ideals and purposes of sport, exhibiting superior leadership qualities in education, athletics, business, or in the community. Our next honoree is the recipient of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame Distinguished Virginian Award. From Richmond, Rick Jeffrey has been an athlete most of his life. At Douglas Freeman and then at Hampden-Sydney, Rick was part of the basketball teams and became a high school coach and official after earning his master's from VCU. But he didn't find his true calling until he joined Special Olympics Virginia, where he spent 36 years serving in a variety of roles, most notably as president for over 2 decades, the longest term in the organization's history. Some of his efforts included the polar plunge in Virginia Beach, the plane pull at Dulles Airport, and the Virginia Law Enforcement Torch Run at the Summer Games. All these events helped support 22,000 athletes across the Commonwealth and expanded the number of offerings and experiences for those with and without intellectual disabilities. Rick has twice served as the chair of the U.S. Special Olympics Committee and left for retirement, making the Virginia sports community far more inclusive than he found it. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the 2024 Distinguished Virginian Award recipient, Mr. Rick Jeffrey.
Let me tell all of you here tonight, when Will called me back in the fall and said, "You're going to be inducted into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame," it was very humbling, because those of you that know me and those of you that know our program in Special Olympics understand that Special Olympics never has been about me. It is about thousands of athletes with intellectual disabilities striving every day to be meaningfully included in their communities, wanting nothing more than to be your coworker, your classmate, your neighbor, or your friend. So let me start by thanking the Hall for including us. It's a great validation for what we have been working on for years at Special Olympics, of making sports an opportunity to make the world more inclusive. I want to start by thanking my family, who's sitting right down here. They're the greatest people I know. And those of you that are involved in sports understand they don't play these events or games or tournaments at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning so you can go home for dinner and be home at night. They play them on the weekends and they play them in the evenings. And it's hours away from your family and time on the road, whether it be around the state or in our case around the country, around the world, and many times. And I appreciate the latitude that those folks down there gave me to chase a dream of what we're trying to accomplish at Special Olympics. I also want to thank my friends. There's a bunch of them here tonight. There are people that I went to school with, played ball with, grew up with, lived with at college, neighbors. There's a bunch of guys that I spend probably too much time on the golf course with, sitting right up there. And many of them have been involved in our program. Their kids have been involved in our program. They themselves personally have done things, and that's just really gratifying. I want to thank what I call our Special Olympics Virginia, or SOVA, family. Our athletes, there's 20,000 of them around the state. They're the purest, greatest people you could ever know. And they are who they are, and they're fantastic. Their family members, their lives are not like ours. They're 24/7 caregivers. They are everything about their child. The volunteers, and when I say that, I include many of you in this room who are not thinking in terms of that, but you work for colleges and universities or school divisions, you work for corporations, you work for county governments, you work for people who hosted us, who came to our events, who were able to help us, and especially all of the great media people that are here in Central Virginia who gave us a platform on their shows, came out and covered us, and allowed us to get that message out. All of you are part of the SOVA team. To our staff, there's a bunch of our staff team here at Special Olympics Virginia. I was in this thing 36 years, and 22 as CEO. I know all the groups in the country. I know many of the groups in the world. The best team and staff in Special Olympics is here in Virginia. They work hard. They work hard. They're innovative. They're forward-thinking. But the best thing I can say about them is they care. And that's, in our business, that's huge. We have some board members and former board members here tonight. Those of you that have been involved with boards, whether it be in for-profit or nonprofit, we had a board that every day these people would come in or call us up and they would say, "How can we help you?" You have no idea how huge that is to have a board that helps. Because really all we were trying to do is make sure that our athletes were meaningfully included. I mentioned at the breakfast this morning that Special Olympics is not an event, it's an experience. And then I had one of the guests out at the reception kind of asked me about that. So let me share with you what I'm talking about when I say Special Olympics is an experience. We have a female athlete, lives up in Springfield, Virginia, named Karen Dickerson. She is intellectually disabled and largely nonverbal. When she was in elementary school, they found out, in middle school, they found out gym class just was not doing it for Karen. And they let her go outside and walk on the track. And then after a while, they noticed she's running on the track. And they encouraged her to run track for her middle school. And then she later ran as a distance runner for Edison High School in Springfield. And then one day she decided, she told her parents, "I want to run in a marathon." So she signed up, she ran some 10Ks, she ran a half marathon, and she signed up for the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington. And really the Marine Corps Marathon is probably one of the easiest tracks for marathons in the country. It's largely very flat, but it was a great entry point for Karen, and she ran and she completed that race. And she went home and told her mom and dad, who were federal retirees, "I want to run a marathon in every state in the country." So she started on her way, and her parents have embarked on that journey with her. She's about a third of the way there. But one day, her mom, Ernestine Dickerson, called me up, and she said, I have great news. Karen has qualified for Boston. And of course, I'm like, wow, this is great. You know, you're going to have a special event that's going to run the Boston Marathon. It's the big time, okay? And so the day came, and Ernestine Dickerson called me and said, I'll keep you informed. Today's the day she's running. I'll let you know how it goes. So I'm waiting around all day, and in the afternoon, Ernie Dickerson calls me, and she says, she did it. She made it. She completed the Boston Marathon in 3 hours and 26 minutes. That's in the top 7% of all the women in the Boston Marathon. So I'm like over the moon here, you know, this is fabulous. She's run Boston. I said, Ernie, she's run Boston in 3:26. This is great. We'll put information out. We'll put communication out about it. 3:26, that's 7%. That's just incredible. And Ernie Dickerson says to me, you are so short-sighted and stupid. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she says, you don't understand what has happened here. There are 20,000 people in this race. There is no accommodation. Karen, remember, is largely nonverbal here. Karen has to get on the bus at 5 in the morning. She has to ride across town, change buses, ride another bus all the way over, get off, find her way to the changing corral, dump her sweats, make sure she gets to the start line, and run the race with 20,000 other people and all that chaos. And I don't know if she can do that. And she said, we had family members at the 5-mile mark. And when they called us and said, we saw her cross the 5-mile mark, she looked great. She said, I knew we were home free because the girl can run. But the real story here is not 3:26. The story here is not the top 7%. She said the story here is that for one day, my child was like everyone else. It's huge. I mean, even I got that right. It was great. And so, that's what I mean by an experience. You have to pay attention and be awake so you don't miss the message. Because that day, Karen was a fully included member of the Boston Marathon community. Because all of these guys in our program just want to be meaningfully included in your neighborhood, your school, workplace, community. As one of our athletes, David Egan, likes to say, we do not want to walk as one among you. We want to walk as one of you. It's a huge difference. So, to the hall, I appreciate your including it. To all of you out there, I look at this as a group award that I share with our Sova family. And I give you each a challenge. When you leave here and go back to your neighborhood, your school, your workplace, your community, include more and more and exclude less and less. Thank you.
This is a year of firsts for this building because it just opened last fall, and the Special Olympics brought their state basketball tournament here just a few weeks ago for the first time. I was fortunate enough to come and take in the event for just a little bit, It was a perfect marriage of what Special Olympics does and what this facility does. And if you ever get a chance, if there's ever an event near you, go watch, go volunteer, just go observe. You will not be sorry. Okay. We continue with our inductees and the next to be included into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. From Lamont, Pennsylvania, Craig Littlepage began his athletic career at Cheltenham High School, then moved on to the University of Pennsylvania, where he played center and helped the Quakers win 3 straight Ivy League titles. He then became an assistant coach at Villanova, Yale, and Virginia, as well as leading programs at his alma mater and Rutgers. Craig became UVA's assistant athletics director in 1990, starting a 27-year run with the Wahoos and their administration, becoming the director of athletics in 2001. He was the ACC's first African-American AD, and in his 17 years guiding the program, UVA won 76 ACC titles and 13 national championships. The 76 ACC championships were the most by any school during that time. He was the chair of the NCAA Men's Division I Basketball Selection Committee and served on executive boards for USA Basketball, the NCAA Infractions Committee, and the National Association of College Athletic Directors. Craig also served on several committees for the ACC. He was named the Black Coaches Association Administrator of the Year twice and has been inducted into both the Pennsylvania and National Association of Collegiate ADs Halls of Fame, and just last year was honored by the International Sports Trailblazers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage and the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Craig Littlepage.
First thing I'm going to say is that, Rick, that is a pretty doggone hard act to follow. That was awesome. Let's give him another round of applause and all those great athletes involved with the Special Olympics. Will, I'm ready to make a bet. I'm not a betting man, but I have a sure bet, and I'm going to ask you if you would like to play. You assemble a team for 5-on-5. You can have the house, and I'll take the group from the University of Virginia. Wally Walker, Barry Parkhill, our current faculty athletics rep, Carrie Heilman, was a player at Holy Cross. I'll stick myself in there. I can screen, I can, block out and pass and so forth and so on. Carla Williams will be on our team. We'll have also Debbie Ryan that'll coach us. So we'll take you versus the house. And also, we're going to include Howie Long as an at-large, because Howie is one of our former noontime basketball players, so he's an at-large pick. So you pick your 7 players from anybody else that's in the house for $50,000. How about that? What's that? Okay, you'll have some guys, but we got some dudes. We got some folks that can play some ball. Well, Ralph is not here, but we're not going to try to stack the deck against you. But anyway, I just thought that I would make that little friendly bet. I'm beyond thrilled and humbled, and certainly having attended 20-some odd number of these events, to be included in the company of so many, not just great athletes, but great people in the state of Virginia is just a thrill. To my colleagues in the class of 2024, congratulations. I've got such great admiration for what each of you have achieved in your careers and the recognition that you have brought to sports here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. There are far too many UVA folks here, far too many Wahoos here for me to acknowledge, but let me ask you to join in for all the folks that came up from Charlottesville to be a part of this tonight. Thank you all very much. And special recognition to Carla Williams, who succeeded me and is doing a fantastic job. And she and the athletics department are sponsors here as well. Carla, we appreciate that and everything that you're doing to keep things going at the University of Virginia. A big reason that we had success at the University of Virginia during my time as director of athletics is because we had just an awesome staff, both administrative staff and coaching staff. We had a great administrative team, talented student athletes, generous donors, and they're important, as you well know. And we just were so fortunate to be at the university at the time that we were. And I am so happy that many of those people are here in attendance tonight to support me. John Castine, the president of the University of Virginia, who hired me, Leonard Sandridge, who was the executive vice president, chief operating officer. Leonard is a legend here in the state of Virginia in higher education. Anybody that has anything to do with higher education not only knows who Leonard Sandridge is, but respects him as one of the truly great administrators and stewards of higher education in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Rather than to repeat some of the stuff that was here in terms of championships and all those types of things, rankings, I want to confine my remarks to two things. Getting the job as Director of Athletics at the University of Virginia, and then leaving the job as the Director of Athletics at the University of Virginia. Much of my career revolves and has revolved around relationships and recruiting. Rolly Massimino was the person that gave me my first job. He hired a 21-year-old guy who had not yet graduated from college. I was 1 month away from my graduation. Hired me as one of his first two assistant coaches when he took over the job at Villanova University. And the reason he hired me, well, two reasons. Number one was because he knew that I could recruit. And during the time that he was an assistant coach at the University of Pennsylvania, he would routinely ask me to go along on recruiting, not recruiting trips per se, but if he had to go to the airport to pick somebody up or go to the train station, host prospective student athletes, I was the guy. So he knew that I could recruit, and he knew that I knew his defense as well as anybody. So he gave me my first shot, but this idea of recruitment is something that has just been ingrained with me since a very early age and very early in my career. After 17 years of coaching, basketball coaching at 5 different institutions, I moved into administrative work at the University of Virginia. And I was an assistant AD, associate AD, senior associate AD, interim AD. They just ran out of jobs for me. So they said in 2001 that they were finally going to make me the director of athletics. But before I got that assignment, I was involved in this search. Again, this is 2001, for Terry Holland's successor. Now, we'll mention Terry because he has had been one of my dear friends. 3 times. 3 times he hired me. 3 times he hired me to be a part of his teams and organizations. Can't thank him and his family enough for what he has meant to me. But I was involved in this search for Terry's successor. And I was enduring a very, very intense search. And what took place was things were not trending toward Craig Littlepage, the Senior Associate Athletics Director, becoming the next Director of Athletics at the University of Virginia. And I'll never forget this. And I've told this story back at the time that I was hired. A conversation that I overheard my youngest child, our daughter Erin, and my son Murray, our middle child, having. And I heard the tail end of what Erin was saying, which was, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Murray says, well, when I grow up, I want to be an AD. Well, knowing that the search wasn't going well, I was just overcome with emotion. And I didn't know what was going to happen if I didn't get the job. How was I going to handle this situation if I didn't get the job? Well, I had a mentor, a gentleman by the name of Merritt Norvell. Merritt Norvell was the director of athletics at Michigan State University. He was a longtime executive with IBM. But at the time that I met Merritt, he was the director of athletics at Michigan State University. And this is the guy that, A, hired Nick Saban. He was also the guy that hired Tom Izzo. And Tom Izzo just happens to be in his 27th year of being the head basketball coach, men's basketball coach at Michigan State University. So Merritt knew a little bit about recruitment himself. And the thing that he told me, again, I'm going through the search, summer of 2001. He said, Craig, you've got everything that you need, but the one thing that you've got to convince your president and the others there, you're going to have to show them that you're going to fight for the job. Noted. So I called my good friend, Leonard Sandridge, again, Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, and I said, Leonard, I need to ask you to come over. And he came over to my office late on a Tuesday afternoon, and I just let it all come out. All the emotion, frustration, disillusionment. I think I had done everything that I could possibly do to become the athletics director at the University of Virginia, and it may not be coming to me. And I told him this story. My son said he wanted to be an athletics director. Leonard and I just looked at each other. I had tears streaming down my face. Leonard said, Paige, I'll get back to you. Very understated. Well, about a week later, I'm driving home. At the end of the day, get a phone call. Leonard, Paige, where are you? On Earlsville Road. He says, can you get back to Madison Hall? Yeah, sure. And when I got back, John Castine and Leonard asked me if I would like to be the director of athletics at the University of Virginia. So on August 21, 2001, I was formally presented as the athletics director at the University of Virginia. 3 weeks later, there's 9/11. Be careful what you wish for, folks, all right? But upon my appointment, the president and the board of visitors asked me to present a blueprint for making the University of Virginia's athletics program a top 10 and sustained performing program. And there were two things. We had to invest in people, and we had to invest in facilities. Investing in people, we needed to hire a higher level of head coaches and assistant coaches. We had some part-time coaches. We had volunteer coaches. That's no way to present and to upgrade a program to be a top 10 program. We didn't have fully funded scholarships across the board. We had to give our coaches the ability to recruit all over the country and to recruit the best people. And our facilities were not the kind of facilities that would attract highly competitive student athletes. And then the next thing that we did was that we articulated 10-year goals. We decided to take the ambitious route of telling the world, this is what we want to do, this is who we want to be. And the 10-year goals were really the thing that we were able to hold out there as a point of accountability. Board of Visitors, if you support us in the things that we're saying that we need to do, we will provide for you a top 10 performing program. And sure enough, things worked out pretty well in that regard. The next part of it, the back end of the bookend, talked about getting the job and then leaving the job. And I'll try to do this quickly. I was having difficulty juggling the stress of mom care and doing the job as an athletics director at the University of Virginia. I spent 5 or 6 years every 10 days driving 5 hours to Philadelphia to visit my mom, make sure that she was okay. She was living independently with dementia. It was wearing me down. I went to President Sullivan and told her that I needed to take a break, and I was able to get a leave of absence for 3 months. I went to Philadelphia, lived with my mom for 3 months, and after 3 months decided that she needs to come back to Virginia with me. And my wife was fantastic in terms of supporting that decision. So that was approximately in February of 2017. 5 months later, I am in the president's office signing a document that was basically going to take me through the rest of my career at the University of Virginia, the next 4 or 5 years. I don't remember what it was. So that was approximately August 8th. 5 weeks later, I called Terry Sullivan and said, Terry, I need to come and see you. We sat down, I said, Terry, I'm ready to announce my retirement. And she says, you're talking about at the end of the semester, the end of the academic year? I said, nope, tomorrow. And she looked at me like, are you kidding me? I said, Terry, I cannot do what this program and university needs and as well take care of my mom. This is my choice. She respected that, and it probably took us about 3 or 4 days to get through all the logistical pieces, but I so am indebted to all the leadership at the University of Virginia for giving me the opportunity to go out on the terms that I did, but more importantly, to give me the opportunity over 17 years to be a part of the university as a leader, to work alongside of and or to recruit 22 or more Hall of Fame coaches. Think about that. Hall of Fame coaches in their respective sports, about 20 some odd. And then even more so, I think that's worthy of a round of applause. A couple of those coaches are here. Debbie Ryan, Steve Swanson's here, just to name a few Hall of Fame coaches. But the other part of that is to as well get to watch Monica Wright, get to watch Chris Long, get to watch hundreds of similarly talented student athletes at the University of Virginia. I can't tell you what a thrill and what a great opportunity that was. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to conclude by saving the best for last. Allow me to thank my incredible family. First, my children, Erica, who I love and admire for your loyalty and your compassion. She's a pediatric oncology nurse. I think that's worthy of a round of applause. Our son Murray, whose work ethic and integrity are unrivaled. He also happens to be, along with Diana, his significant other, the great parents of my sweet granddaughter, Parker Reese Littlepage. Murray. And also an assistant director of athletics at Temple University, so he may be on that track. And then Erin, the youngest, and who as the youngest child every day shows her toughness, shows her determination and fierce independence. That defines Erin Littlepage. And of course, my best friend and wife, Margaret, wife of 42 years, 9 months, and 9 days. How about that? Those of you that are old enough remember the show The Honeymooners, and Ralph Crandon would sign off, "Baby, you're the greatest. Margaret, you're the greatest." And here is the last thing I want to talk about. Margaret and I love music, and wherever we drive, we're listening to music, and she's heard me tell this before, and the kids probably as well. And I've got a playlist, and there are 2 songs, and I want you to either write these down or remember to Google them. And when you're with your significant other or when you're with your family tonight, you can play them. 2 songs that I would ask you to play that tell the story of our love. First one is Through the Years, Kenny Rogers. Listen to that song, listen to those lyrics, and if there's a song that defines our relationship, that is it. And then the second one, and this was a country and western song released in 1973, and popularized by Gladys Knight and the Pips. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm going to read you the lyrics real quickly for one verse. I've had my share of life's ups and downs, but fate's been kind, the downs have been few. I guess that you could say I've been lucky. I guess you could say that it's all because of you. If anyone should ever write my life story, for whatever reason there might be, You'll be there between the lines of pain and glory because you're the best thing that has ever happened to me. Thank you, hon. Finally, thank you to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame for this recognition. I appreciate it. I look forward to being involved and active as needed over the years. But this is a great moment for the Littlepage family, and I thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Coach. His little wager with Will reminded me of a story which a lot of you might know. A couple of years ago when the Golden State Warriors won the NBA championship, there was a reporter that got a hold of Michael Jordan and asked him, "Hey, how do you think your Bulls teams would have done against these Warriors?" Jordan thought about it and he said, "We'd probably win by 5 or 6. And the reporter said, "Just 5 or 6? And Jordan said, "Yeah, but you got to remember, we're in our 60s now." But you going to bet against him? Not me. Here's tonight's next inductee. From Charlottesville, Chris Long started out at St. Anne's Belfield by playing 4 different sports, but football eventually became his focus. As a senior at Stab, he led the Saints to a state title, then made the short trek to UVA, where he became a Cavalier legend. He was twice named All-ACC and was the Defensive Player of the Year in 2007. Chris was a first-team All-American and won the Dudley Award as the Commonwealth's top player. He became the first active player to have his number retired at UVA and was the number 2 overall pick in the 2008 draft by the Rams. Long played 11 seasons in the NFL with 3 teams, was named to the All-Rookie team in 2008, and was named Defensive Lineman of the Year in 2011 by NFL alumni. He had 70 career sacks and 15 forced fumbles. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champ, and since he left the field, has launched the Chris Long Foundation, which has raised money for the Water Boys, an initiative that focuses on clean water projects in Africa. Long was named the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year in 2018 and won the Alan Page Community Award. Folks, please welcome to the stage in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Chris Long.
Y'all weren't lying. It is bright. All right. I'll try to keep it quick. Thank you so much, Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you to the Board of Directors. Thank you to the Honors Court Committee. And Will and Marty, this is an awesome event. I think you're over here somewhere. This is easy. You make it easy for the guys and gals getting in and getting to be a part of it. It just feels special. So really appreciate you having us. I'm humbled. When I was younger and people said I'm humbled, something good happens to somebody to say I'm humbled, it's kind of hard to figure that one out, because you think, I'd probably feel pretty good about myself. But when you get upstairs and get to see what's in the room above you, and I've been lucky enough a couple times in my life to be able to do something like that. You get in the room and you see the people. And I just see giants. Not literally like Craig, who's still 6'10", but I'm talking about like Debbie Ryan and folks like that, and flipping through the brochure, and there's Billy Wagner and all these folks that I looked up to. Anthony Poindexter, one of my favorite people, who's like a big brother to me, and my coach all rolled into one, and they're in this one book, and they're on the wall. And that's what humbles me, and I'm humbled to be here. I'm humbled to climb another flight of stairs with y'all. So Coach Ellis, great coaches here. Hearing about Coach Hal, LaShawn, world-class athletes, people behind the athletes like Paul, who help us tell our stories. People behind people like Paul, like Dave. Talking to Dave this morning was amazing. Guy with all those stories. That's solid gold right there to be able to sit with somebody like that. And so people like Rick, I want to call you out because I sat with you this morning. People like me get a lot of credit. Athletes get a lot of credit. And I know you probably downplay your contribution, but people like you are what makes the world go round. So I appreciate everybody up here on this stage. And I'm not leaving the Wahoos out. It's nice to see some Wahoos in here. Monica, you are amazing. You are an amazing player. You're a champion, and you're a great ambassador for our university. And Craig, there's a whole generation of people like me and Monica that we're not where we are today without you. So I appreciate you, and your family's awesome. When I moved here as a kid, I was nervous, like just as nervous as I am tonight. I was a kid with no friends here. I moved across the country, and it can be an intimidating move, but I got to tell you, this place embraced me and my family, and it was home the day I walked into Charlottesville, and it's still home. It's where I choose to raise my family. It's the way I like to live my life. It's the people I like to be around, and I want my kids around, and it's people like the people in this room. So I appreciate that, and honestly, going to play football for 11 years, reaching heights I never thought I'd reach in pro football, the stuff that feels the best is coming home and having the respect of your peers and the people you grew up around, because you can't fool those people. I really believe that. You want to find out what a guy's like that, in the league, if I want to know how a guy was, I'd ask people at home, ask people back at home. And so to come home and have y'all's respect, that means more than anything to me, because that's what you do it for. You do it for respect, and you do it for the respect of the people that you cannot fool. And y'all are those people, so I appreciate you. Dukes, Monarchs, even Hokies. I grew up with some Hokies. I didn't know that at the time. Otherwise, I might have picked some different friends. But honestly, like when I don't hate y'all as much as Maryland. And actually I like some of y'all. When I was a pro football player first year, I had a friend named Vince Hall. Does anybody remember Vince Hall? Great linebacker for the Hokies. We were teammates, and we were coming from different ends of the draft, different places, but we lined up against each other and respected each other, and we became great friends. He helped me get through that first camp, and I called my friends at home and I said, I haven't broke out in hives yet. It's really weird. I'm around this guy all the time. And this week we had our golf tournament, and Sean Glennon's there, and we become friends, and we do a truce once a year where I don't run into him for 3 days, and he comes to my golf tournament, and he's right there. He's fixing my swing. He's helping me get better at golf, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy beat me 5 times, it feels like, and now he's teaching me golf. So I love the Hokies too. I want to thank my family. And we're all family here, by the way, all folks that went to different schools, and that's what's so special about this. My mom, my dad, my mom, I can remember she used to catch the red eye from Eugene, Oregon, where my brother was playing football, every night to come to the Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis on 0 sleep and cheer for me. I could hear her in the upper deck if I didn't give her good tickets. I mean, when we went to London and played, I spotted her. I knew just where she was, and I didn't even have to look because I recognized her voice. And we used to go back to the apartment after a lot of games we lost. There were some long years, and I just wanted my mom, And, we'd sit there, and she was just as exhausted as me. So I appreciate my mom. I appreciate my dad, who used to hightail it from my games to the West Coast to work. Those calls, Dad, the texts before games where you told me, what to expect. You knew right where I was sitting. You knew where I was mentally, the whole thing. And to have you, that meant the world to me as a friend, and somebody that supported me. My brothers, Kyle and Howie, I love y'all. They're not here today, but we were our biggest fans, each other's biggest fans. And some of my best moments were watching those guys. Meg, my wife, my beautiful wife is here tonight. When my parents passed the baton, parents know what that's like, passing the baton and saying, you got this guy now. So she rode the ups and downs with me. And with an athletic background, you truly knew what I was thinking. You knew how to handle it. You knew how to handle the wins, the losses. You knew I wasn't satisfied, and you understood, window in an athlete's mind. And any athlete in here knows this. Behind every great athlete, there is a support system that's tremendous. And that's why this is a group award for, I'm pretty sure, anybody in here who's involved in sports. And I think I'd speak for all of us when I say sorry for being who we had to be sometimes to get where we wanted to go. Because it's not always fun living with an athlete, and things are never good enough. And it can make you a real pain. And I appreciate you all for putting up with that. You know, hard work earns respect. I'm going to tell you a story, too. My dad taught me hard work. He came from a place where he had to work his way out, and I didn't have to work my way out of where I was, but he wanted me to work hard. And there was a guy named Ben D'Alessandro, and he was a college basketball coach, and he arranged an opportunity for us to meet up. And I'm standing in a basketball gym, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I'm a basketball player, but I'm not any good at basketball. This isn't going anywhere. What am I doing in this gym with Ben? And I figured it out. They had a deal that was like, you just break this kid. You run him until he breaks. And I don't know if those were the exact words, but I broke. And I remember standing there, 13 years old, with tears, and I got back on the line. And I'll never forget, I just kept running. And I really do believe I've tried to run ever since. Anything I've ever done, I'm sprinting. I'm doing 100 miles an hour. And that's because my dad took the time to give me that quality. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate guys like Ben, strength coaches. They don't get enough love. Shad Paspahala, Evan Marcus, Matt Bayless, Ed, Wild Bill. You spend more time with your strength coaches than you do your actual coaches, and they meant a lot to me, and they should be recognized. And then they pass you over to the football guys. My football family, some of them not here tonight, but Jerry Capone's here. I love you, Jerry. I've been with guys like Jerry since I walked on campus as a kid, 18 years old. He's still there. You know, Al Groh. When I think about people that everybody in here has 5-7 people. If you took them off the menu for you throughout your life would be totally different. I called Al Groh, texted him last night, and I said, man, I'm going to thank you tomorrow, but I got to thank you, man, because of all the coaches I had, he's the one who taught me what it meant to be a face in the fan player. And it's hard to explain, but it means just whatever the challenge is, you go face first. And that was Al's way. And so Mike London, Laverne Beal, and Al Golden, I appreciate those guys. You know, Al pushed me pretty hard. I'll tell you a story that I really haven't told in public. After my freshman year, my first year, as they say at Virginia, I was thinking about transferring. And back when I played, it wasn't so easy. So it was a big decision. I was out of sorts. It was a tough transition. And me and a buddy who I won't name, who was in the same boat, we drove up the mountain to Skyline Drive, you know, that abandoned hotel for people who live there. They're like, when are they going to do something with that? Well, this is where kids think about whether they're going to transfer or not. So we drove up the mountain, and me and my buddy, we said, we're going to deliberate, man, but we're coming off this mountain, we're going to decide what we're going to do. And we sat up there for what felt like 3 hours, and we came down, and I came down the mountain, I said, I'm sticking with this. And boy, am I glad I did. And I would just say I'd give you countless examples of, you know, exit lights that you have where, you know, in today's world, there's so many exit lights. There's opportunities to take the easy way out. And I would just caution young athletes, stick with things. You never know how close you are to meeting your goal. The road to success is littered with people that could have drove another 10 minutes. And that sometimes is the best skill you can have. And so I appreciate not taking those exit signs when they were available. My teammates, they were a big reason why I didn't do that. There's people here off the top of my head, not with me right now, but Marcus Hagens, one of my best friends in the world. His son is, he's my godson. I don't have bonds like that if I don't have people like Marcus Hagens in my life, if I don't have Clint Sinham, if I don't have Tom Sandy, people that serve on the board of my foundation. I trust them with my kids if I had to. That's family. You know, the last time you take off a football helmet, you're not a football player anymore, but you'll always be part of a team. And so I appreciate those guys so much. And lastly, sports fans. A lot of y'all are sports fans in here tonight. Why do we do it? I think it's just the moments. Again, my dad's going to come up, but my dad told me when I was younger, the reason you play the game, and football is an unforgiving, hard game. We leave a part of ourselves out on the field. We legitimately do. It is not for the faint of heart, and it is a grind, and you go to some low lows. But the thing that makes it worth it are these little moments. And a moment like tonight, but I had probably 10 moments of real time in my career that I played my entire career for, whether they're making a play or standing in front of 70,000 people. When somebody asked me what it was about to me, and I mean this to this day, it's the only time I miss football, because I don't miss the meetings and practice. It's watching 70,000 people stand on their feet is doing this and people stand up. Like, you'd have to feel it to believe it. I'm telling you. And I'll miss that to the day I die. And you guys make that possible. So thank you. And to the next generation of Virginia Sports Hall of Famers, I'm hoping. My son Luke, who's here today, who was running around over there, we've been running him up and down the basketball court. My son Waylon, who's not here. You talk about coming home and getting respect from people. There's nobody I want the approval of more than my two boys and my one daughter, June, who's 10 months old. She took a rain check. So I love you guys. And I'll close with this. John Blake, who I'm not going to forget, is my high school coach. He is so special to me. I was just texting with him before the ceremony. And he used to read us a poem before Craig's got the lyrics. I'm not as musical, but I'll read you a poem. This is from John Blake. He'd read it before every game, and then we run out of tunnel. When you get what you want and you struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass? The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the man standing back in the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end, and you pass your most dangerous, difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. You can fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheated the man in the glass. Now, I don't need my notes to say that. And then he'd cry, and he'd say, don't cheat that man. And my message to any young athletes who want to be the next generation is don't worry about everybody else. Be a great teammate. But the one person whose approval is important is the person in the mirror. And if you please that person, I'm pretty sure you're doing just fine. So I appreciate you, Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, everybody in this room. I love you all, appreciate y'all. This is my home state. It always will be.
Thanks, Chris. If you'll indulge me for just a couple of seconds, on behalf of the planning committee that put all this together, and several of them are here tonight, just a couple of people that we'd like to thank. First of all, the involvement of CBS 6, and a lot of what you're seeing on streaming tonight is because of our general manager, Stephen Hayes. Stephen, thank you for backing us on all of this. The videos that you are seeing tonight are put together by our award-winning promotions department at CBS 6. An entire corner of that building on Broad Street is filled with little gold statues that they bring home every single year. And that's David Stotts, our promotions manager, Brandy Brown, and Enzo Domingo, who put together all of these videos tonight before each of the speeches. And with that, here is the next video for the next inductee.
From Portsmouth, LaShawn Merritt started his athletic career fast and never stopped. Out of Woodrow Wilson, now Manor High School, Merritt swept the VHSL state titles in the 100, 200, and 400-meter dashes in 2004. That same year, he took home gold in the 400 at the World Junior Championships and was a part of 2 world record-setting relay teams. It earned LaShawn the title of USA Track and Field Youth Athlete of the Year. 2 years later, he won gold in the 4x400-meter relay at the World Outdoor Championships and a silver in the 400 at the 2007 World Championships. He was a 3-time Olympian, winning 4 medals, 3 gold and a bronze, over the course of his career. He has earned 23 medals in international competition, 19 of them gold. Off the track, LaShawn created the LaShawn Merritt Foundation in 2018, which is helping underserved communities with health and wellness education. His words and thoughts as a public speaker have left a lasting impression around the world, just as his feet did on the track.
Please welcome to the stage the next inductee into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. LaShawn Merritt.
Good evening, good evening. I love that video. You know, I've been a runner all my life, and for it to be a career of mine, it's a blessing. You know, I'm honored to be here today. I want to thank the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame for recognizing the hard work that I've put in. It's a sport, it's a tough sport. You know, it's one of the hardest sports, and it's all about discipline and it's sacrifice and staying focused. And I have my parents here and some support here with me. Even though it's an individual sport, it took a team, let me tell you, and they'll tell you that. You know, I want to start with my mom, Brenda Merritt. Brenda Merritt, yes. She's been a blessing in my life. She's been the person all my life who told me to go and have fun with whatever I did. So, not an athlete, so there was no stress from mom. And then I have my dad, Owen Merritt. Yes, he would say I got the genes from him, which I probably did, but I know it took a lot more than just having genetics to be Olympic gold medalist and the #1 in the world for several years. You know, and my dad was a guy who told me all my life that I came from a good root. You know, I had good blood, and I was meant for something special. You know, and that even when I won the Olympics, he told me, boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. So I said, all right, I'm gonna keep working. You know, the biggest thing he told me growing up was that a good name is worth more than silver and gold. You know, so I take that with me with whatever I do. I am from Portsmouth, Virginia, the 757 area where the Hall of Fame was. Yes, I love Virginia. And Virginia's for lovers, so I love you all. Yeah, and I started, when I was younger, I was always an athlete, always fast. I did baseball, football, and basketball. When I was younger, my mom and my dad would take me, man, I remember having competitions, one in Hampton, and they driving me the next day or the same day that evening over to Virginia Beach. So they did their part, and I thank them for that, for seeing something in me when I was younger, something that I didn't necessarily see in myself. You know, they saw greatness in me. My granddad called me Star ever since I was born. I'm the middle child, so introverted a little bit, but I stayed the course. You know, and I have my sister here also. My sister has 6 kids. I have 6 nieces and nephews, all in sports. The coaches end up telling them, hey, you got that Merritt blood in you. You better get right. So I don't pressure on myself, but she run them around just like my parents did me, and that's what you have to do. You know, she's a single mom. She handles 6, and I love it. I love her for that. Yes. And I also have my cousin and her husband here, who my cousin runs my foundation. She's the executive director. She's helped me with a lot in my career, the logistics of a lot of things. She helped me a lot right now, post-career, and I just want to thank her for taking the drive to be here today. I'm extremely grateful and honored to be named a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I don't come from a background of athletes, so when I got the call from Mr. Will and they told me that the board had decided to induct me into this prestigious club, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, you know, for someone recognizing the work that I put in. I went to Woodrow Wilson High School, now Manor High School. I was a standout athlete in the sport of track and field. Got a full scholarship. I ended up going to East Carolina, which is in North Carolina. I could have went anywhere, but I fell for the coach there, Coach Bill Carson, great guy. And at the time, East Carolina was an all Adidas track and field club, and I was only wearing Nike at the time. And he said, look, LaShawn, you come from this Tidewater area. I need you. If you come to my school, I'll switch the whole program to Nike. And I ended up at East Carolina. I ended up a Pirate. You know, I didn't want to go too far from home because I had an older brother. I'm going to rewind a little bit. I had an older brother, 5 years older than me, who was an athlete, was a musician, the ladies' man, class clown, most likely to succeed, the whole 9. And he got murdered his freshman year in college. Never got a chance to see me run track. He went to Shaw University. And ever since then, I understood that life is short. You take it a day at a time. And I'm fortunate enough to find something in my early years that I could really home in on and have this drive of, and this extra chip on my shoulder to do it for my brother, something bigger than me. You know, in practice, those days where it was really hard and I had these interval workouts and I didn't know if I was going to make it, it was always, okay, Twan, we got this. You know, he was my angel throughout my career. He's an angel in my life right now. And he's the driving force for who I am, I feel, right now. You know, I have my two parents who are more, I would say my mom is a high performer. She's a high performer. She's the woman who, at her job, when anything needs to get done, it's called Brenda Merritt. She's going to get it handled. And I love that about her. My dad is also a high performer, but also a high achiever. You know, he sings, he acts. He tell me all the time he was supposed to be famous, you know, but he ended up marrying my mom and having kids, so he had to work all his life, and he don't regret it at all. You know, he really take pride in raising his kids. So I thank him for that. So with me, I have this blood, this makeup of high achiever and a high performer. And I chose an event or a sport where I was able to fall in love with a process. That day-to-day process, that's what I love. I'm the high performer before I'm a high achiever. Tell people that all the time. Like, how did you get to where you are? How did you feel after this? I never really got psyched out about Olympic Games or World Championships or the magnitude of a race because I was a high performer. My confidence came from my preparation, the intention in the preparation. Every rep in the gym, every step on the track mattered to me. So when I lined up, it was go time, you know, and it was never about being a household name or getting inducted in the Hall of Fame or being number one in the world. To me, it was about just being my best self day to day. And I chose a sport where there was a lot of accountability. There was a lot of, it's an individual sport, so a lot of discipline. I chose discipline over motivation. And I was a guy who saw sacrifice as not this big thing, but just doing what you had to do to get what you wanted. So that day-to-day process of track and field, which is designed to stress your mind and your body daily, is stress adaptation, and then it becomes stress management when it becomes competition. So I fell in love with that day-to-day stressful process and was able to be confident when it was time to line up and bring my best self. And I was never scared of the moment. When I would get into that moment, I knew I belonged there. When I would be in Paris, I would be in Rome. My favorite place to run was Monte Carlo. When I would go to these places, I would have this thought at first early on in my career. When I would get there, it would be the 8 best in the world, and I would be 21, 22 years old, and I would have that thought of, now what am I doing here? I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia, and I'm in Shanghai, like competing for whatever I'm competing against. And then that voice, that inner voice of my mom just telling me to go and have fun, and that voice of my dad letting me know that I was meant for something special. And then that confidence from the attention and the preparation, those heels, and that voice of my brother playing in my head, letting me know that I could be great, would always come right to me, and I would be able to be present in a moment and execute and be able to download this information that I was able to get in practice. They ended up calling me the Machine. My nickname in the sport ended up being the Machine. They say it's because how I handled the last 100 meters. It's a 400-meter race, the hardest event in track and field. And I was able to handle that last 100 where many failed with such poise and was able to execute that part. But for me, I feel like it's a little deeper than that. I feel like the Machine, when I think about it, comes from me being able to train and fall in love with that process and download information with so much intention that when it was time to execute and race and compete, I could just spit the information out in any circumstance. I never really worried about the crowd. I never really worried about the temperature or anything. I was the machine. I would download it so well, and I was able to be so present and in a flow state when it was time to execute. But it was all about preparation, all in my preparation. I ended up turning pro my first contract. I was a freshman at East Carolina, and my coach came to me and said, we're running at Arkansas this weekend, but they've decided to put you in the professional section. I was 18 years old. And I went there, I was nervous, but still confident. I learned early on to use my butterflies that I would get as confidence. You know, I would line these butterflies up when I would feel it, and I would be the head butterfly, but you can only do that when you're prepared with intention. I would always say, proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. And I would work those P's in training. So I knew how important that was. Line these butterflies up. I had this race in Arkansas as a freshman indoor against these elite athletes who were there to get paid and feed their family and take care of bills, and they expected something from me. And I actually won that race. That was in 2005. I won. 2 weeks later, Nike called me and told me they was going to give me this multi-million-dollar contract to give up my eligibility and to run for Nike, and they would continue to pay for whatever school I wanted to go to. So it was a win-win deal. I took the deal, I read it, fine print said I had to be top 3 in the world from here on out or I will get reduced. So it was serious now. And I took it on, I developed, I built my team, my chiropractor, the sport of track and field, you're not joining a team, so it's all building who you want to be with you, your chiropractor, your coach, your agent, your mentor, your nutritionist. You have to go and find these people. And I'm a big guy on character. So I had to weave out some people, and I found my core group. Then it was, okay, what's next? The biggest thing on the menu was Olympic Games, and I wanted to get to the top of the podium there. Now, I'd only been running the event for a couple of years, but I learned how to pick a good team. So I felt solid with my team. Then we studied a lot. We did what we needed to do. That first year, I was maybe 6th in the world. I don't think they reduced me my first year, though. After that, I was number 2 in the world. And when I was number 2 in the world in 2007, I said, next year, I'm going to win that Olympic gold. I did. I said, I'm going to win that Olympic gold next year. I had been running the event in the sport for 3 years, and now I'm at a place where I'm battling to be the number 1 in the world and the Olympic gold medalist. My coach and I, Dwayne Miller, did everything, man. We studied a lot. We studied film. I developed a coach's eye because I watched so much film trying to beat the guy who was number 1. Each race throughout the year, I would get closer and closer and closer. Not really super competitive, but just executing the plan a little different every time until I beat this guy in 2008 before the Olympic Games. Then I ended up winning Olympic trials in 2008. One step closer to not necessarily a childhood dream, but a dream that became a dream because of the work I was doing daily. That's why it was the dream. The hard work, the running, the sacrifices, the visualization, everything that I was doing was around the sport of track and field, so it only made sense that I started dreaming about it. Then I actually got to the Olympics. 2008 was the first one, Beijing. There were 3 rounds. I handled the rounds like I needed to, got there amongst the best in the world, knew I was supposed to be there, knew why I was there, and took it a day at a time. Had the first round, I dominated that, followed the plan. Second round, did exactly what I needed to do. The final round came around, and that day they lined up 8 men who had been training for 4 years to be the top in the world. 8 horses. I call them quarter horses. I feel like I'm a quarter horse. That's what we call it. We would line up. We would leave the hotel, get to the warm-up area, be around each other for about 2 hours before we did this competition where if you flinched, you got DQ'd. It's one of the only sports where it requires you to be almost 99% of your health every time. You can't be out there with a hurt toe or hurt hamstring or arm messed up like a lot of other sports. The sport is almost 99%. You know, if my hip is off, I can feel it. And we win and lose by tenths of seconds, so everything matters. And I got there at Olympic Games, that final race. I remember walking slow to the blocks. They lined us up in numerical order. I was probably fourth or fifth, but I dragged in the back a little bit because I was in such a flow state. I remember having this overwhelming sense of me that almost, I was like, have I trained? Like my feet felt so heavy. Everything was just, it felt weird, but I ended up noticing that I was in such a present state. I know I had trained, but I was so present that nothing mattered except for this race I kept running in my head that I kept winning. A lot of visualization, like that's the only thing that was going on. And I went out and executed exactly how I wanted and how I was thinking. And that race I won by the largest margin in Olympic history. So that was I appreciate it. That was a student really being able to get into his craft and become that martial artist when it really mattered. And I take pride in that. I went on from there to win several more Olympics, 4x4. I anchored the U.S. 4x4 for years. I've won several world championships. When I was in high school, I didn't really pay attention in history. I'm from Portsmouth. I never really paid attention, never thought I would leave out of the area. And I'm almost finished with stamps in my second passport. So I've traveled the world. I have this worldly knowledge and education that I love. I really take pride in having the DNA in the sport, but putting it together from ear to ear. You know, just having it here when it really mattered, being able to stay the course, being able to stay present, and being able to execute. I'm retired 2 years now. Like I said, I have my foundation that I'm developing, the LaShawn Merritt Foundation. I do speed camps with Nike. I have a partnership still with Nike where I go from state to state and I put on this camp for about 6 hours and pour back into the kids. And I also just started inspirational speaking. You know, it's some motivation in it, but I was a guy who always chose discipline over any external motivating type of factor. So I just tell stories, and there's a lot of discipline and inspiration in my stories. And now the lanes, those are the 3 lanes that I'm in right now. I plan to take the same formula that I learned about how to become my best self, like the sport of track and field, and apply it to these lanes and continue to be a high performer and let the high achievements come. And I just want to thank you all for being here. You all look amazing. And class of 2024, congratulations. And I'm thankful to be one of you all. So thank you.
We all agreed, watching and listening to LaShawn this morning, that if we ever had a medal like that, we'd never take it off. Grocery store, Home Depot, DMV, take the picture. Make them do it. Here is tonight's next inductee.
From Petersburg, Hal Nunnally never played the game. An illness prevented him from taking the court, but it could not stop him from learning everything about basketball. He kept the scorebooks at Randolph-Macon as a student for legendary Jackets coach Paul Webb. After coaching at Prince George High and Tidewater Academy, Hal returned to Ashland to coach alongside his mentor. He was first in charge of Macon's junior varsity team, where he won 86% of his games over 3 seasons. In 1975, Nunnally took over for Webb as head coach of the Yellow Jackets, a position he held for 24 seasons. He is the winningest coach in Randolph-Macon history with 431 victories, winning at least 20 games 10 different times. Hal's teams won 5 ODAC titles, made the NCAA tournament 10 times, and played for a national championship in 1977. He won 11 different Coach of the Year awards and was inducted into the Randolph-Macon Hall of Fame in 2004.
Accepting tonight on behalf of Coach Nunnally, please welcome to the stage one of his many former players, Mr. Paul Gartland.
Well, when I agreed to do this, they didn't tell me I had to follow LaShawn. That's a tough act to follow. Hal Winston Nunnally III never played a game of organized sports in his life. Rheumatic fever as a child kept him from ever wearing a sports uniform. But it didn't stop him from becoming one of the winningest college coaches in Virginia history. He accomplished that and much more despite a coaching career that was also cut short for health reasons. The video you just watched does a great job of pulling together all the highlights of Coach Nunnally's amazing career. But it left out one stat of great importance to him. That is the fact that 98% of the student athletes who played for Coach for 4 years earned their college degree. You don't end up in this Virginia Sports Hall of Fame without support from your peers and your players. One of his peers was Coach Gary Williams, the third winningest coach in ACC history behind two guys named Smith and Krzyzewski, who coached at the University of Maryland to the 2002 National Championship, is in both the Collegiate and Naismith Hall of Fames. And Coach Williams says, "I never looked forward to playing Randolph-Macon because I knew we could get beat." Coach Williams wrote in his letter of recommendation, "When I was at American University, Boston College in Maryland, we knew we had to be prepared when we played Randolph-Macon, or we were going to get embarrassed by Hal's preparation, schemes, and in-game adjustments, and he knew how to win close games." He went on to say, "Playing against Coach Nunnally was like playing against the Bobby Knight coach team. His teams were always so disciplined, mentally tough, played far above their talent level. Isn't that the real definition of a Hall of Fame coach?" I played for Coach Nunnally in the early 1980s, and we became lifelong friends. On behalf of Coach Nunnally's family, his friends at both Tidewater Academy and his alma mater, Petersburg High School, as well as all of his friends at Randolph-Macon College, it's an extraordinary gift for me to accept this induction in Coach Nunnally's honor. I'd like to recognize Coach Nunnally's family, his aunt Dot Schreiber, who fell ill earlier today and could not join us, her two daughters, Jenny Walker and Ellen Gaddy, and Jenny's grandson, Logan Walker, who are all here tonight. We're so happy you're here. At the age of 36, nothing was harder for Coach Nunnally than following in the footsteps of Hall of Fame coach Paul Webb, who collected 5 Hall of Fame honors everywhere he played or coached. Coach Nunnally lived up to all the pressure and expectations and is now in 4 Hall of Fames everywhere he coached. The two of them together are most responsible for Randolph-Macon's 65% all-time winning percentage that ranks 5th among all schools and all divisions in the state of Virginia. And what a blessing it is that these two Hall of Famers now share Webb Nunnally Court and Randolph-Macon's Crenshaw Gymnasium. Coach Nunnally was a fine public speaker, always clear in his thoughts and impeccable in his delivery. When he went to the podium, you listened anxiously as if he had you by the collar of your shirt, and he never wasted a word. Tonight, I think he would say, "Paul, be humble, be brief, and from the heart." I don't know any coach who created more overachievers on the basketball court and in life than Coach Nunnally. In basketball circles, you often hear the cliche, "He makes people around him better," and I can think of no greater compliment. But how did he do it? First, he treated everyone with incredible respect, even his most fierce rivals, and he demanded his players do the same. He coached every game in a suit, even when playing overseas, and he demanded his players travel with a jacket and tie. His teams always had outstanding character, were extremely disciplined. It was all part of his process. Coach Nunnally was a master of every technical aspect of the game, but perhaps as equally important, his motivational skills were off the chart. Sometimes he used tough love, other times he was understanding that love is tough. Coach could always distinguish between the two, and he knew exactly when to apply the pressure or when a hug was better. He oversimplified everything. They only had one training rule: you don't embarrass the program. He demanded his players accept the responsibility for their actions. His threshold for loyalty was extraordinarily high, and his tolerance for lack of commitment was zero. Whether it was Little League parent, a high school coach, or a gathering at Coach Holland's beach house for a summit of ACC coaches, the good of the game was always what drove the conversation, and he offered a perspective only he could. Kevin Eastman, who's here tonight, an assistant for 12 years with the Boston Celtics and Los Angeles Clippers, wrote in his recommendation letter, Hal cared about winning as much as the best ones, but he was consumed by what he would give to the game in its purity and what he could do to help others in the profession achieve their goals and dreams. Coach Nunnally was extremely proud of his former players and coaches who are still in college basketball today. Just a part of his coaching tree, and here tonight, includes Mike Rhodes, the head coach at Penn State, Jamal Brunt, the assistant head coach at Penn State, head coach Chris Gerlofson at the University of San Francisco, Nathan Davis, also here tonight, at the University of New Hampshire. Sean McAloon's the head coach at IMG Academy, Sean Fitty, an assistant at Stetson, and current RMC head coach Josh Merkel, now in his 8th year at Randolph-Macon, and only the 5th head coach in the last 68 years. Coach Merkel led his team to the Division III National Championship 2 years ago. For Coach Nunnally, Randolph-Macon was truly his life. When he retired, he founded the Friends of Basketball Dinner, a tip-off formal preseason event akin to a family reunion. Coach Nunnally insisted our first guest speaker had to be Coach Webb to speak about the beginnings of the program. In later years, he asked past players and coaches to speak about the culture and the expectations. The tradition has continued now for 24 years and draws a larger crowd each October in his honor. See, this wasn't a team, it was a program, and programs are built on a process. His former players and coaches also started the Hal Nunnally Endowment to help pay for an aspiring assistant coach on the RMC staff. When fundraising for the program, Coach coined the phrase, make a sacrifice gift. He didn't care if you donated $5 or $500, but make a gift that requires you to forego something of significance in your life. Make it hurt a little, he would say. Marty Wilson, who Coach recruited out of high school to be the team's manager, remembered, Coach often asked me, did you beat the other manager tonight? Coach coined the phrase, did you beat the other manager tonight? He was the most demanding boss I ever had, Marty said, and you never wanted to let him down. His expectations were always high at every level of the program. As you can see from all these remembrances, Coach Nunnally's influence and inspiration have an enormous impact on the program 25 years after he coached his last game. I want to give a special thanks to all those who were so instrumental in Coach Nunnally's induction. Phil Stanton, Marty Wilson, Jeff Burns, Jerry Lindquist, John Averett, Larry Ward, as well as letter writers and coaches Paul Webb, Gary Williams, Terry Holland, John Beeline, Jim Larinaga, Bobby Ross, Barry Parkhill, Charlie Moyer, Jim Phelan, Kevin Eastman, and Bill Millsaps. I think there's about 50 Hall of Fames on that list. I also want to especially thank my basketball brothers, Dave Molesky and Reed O'Brien, whose yellow jacket determination and flat-out love for Coach Nunnally helped make tonight possible. I love you guys, and you know how proud Coach would be of you. Lastly, I want to thank my dear friend Juan Ignacio Bascuñan from the Catholic University Sports Club in Santiago, Chile. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Randolph-Macon traveled to Chile 4 times to play in a summer tournament against professional teams from Europe and South America. It was during those trips that Juan and Coach struck up a friendship, and Juan would drive Coach to his dialysis appointments and then to watch the junior teams play. Coach Nunnally was made an honorary member of the club in 2002, and this week Juan traveled 20 hours to be here to honor his friend. The stage tonight is blessed with extraordinary achievements and contributions in all areas of sport. My heartfelt congratulations to each of the inductees and your families. Only you all know the effort and sacrifice that went into your incredible careers. I would like to thank the Board of Directors and the Honors Corps Committee for everything you do thanklessly to keep the memories alive of our sports heroes, and for using this celebration to do so much good for the disadvantaged in our state. Special mention for Director Will Driscoll, whose communication and social media skills, attention to detail, and as Coach Nunnally would say, your incredible motor make you the perfect person for the job. And the Hall of Fame is fortunate to have you as their leader. It was also Will's idea to leverage the Hall of Fame's presence throughout the state to use sports to meet some of the mental health needs of our youth. It's an incredible initiative, and it's very well done, Will. 20 years ago, in 2004, Coach Nunnally was inducted in the Randolph-Macon College Hall of Fame. As his health was failing him, he was unable to attend the ceremony and asked me to accept on his behalf. When asked what he wanted me to talk about, he said, "Just tell him we've proven it, we can do it the right way. We could take relatively talented kids and get them to play hard for the name on the front. We graduated them on time, and we prepared them for life. That's what really matters," he said. For those of you who didn't know Coach Nunnally, I hope I have opened ever so slightly the window into his intellect, his extraordinary contributions to the game, and his impact on all the lives he touched. It wasn't under the bright lights. It wasn't on chartered flights. Hardly ever in the national news. And coaches today make more money in 1 month than he ever made in a year. I pray that every person in this room has had a coach, parent, mentor in your life, the quality of Coach Hal Nunnally. If you don't, go find one. And as he would say, open your ears, not your mouth. On behalf of all of us who are so lucky enough to have known Coach Nunnally and to have experienced his boundless generosity in every walk of life, we want to express our heartfelt appreciation for his simplicity, his dedication, and leadership. He truly was one of a kind. He did it his way and without compromise. And everyone who knew Coach Nunnally is far better for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. I first met Mike Rhodes when he was hired as an assistant by Coach Nunnally literally weeks after graduating college. He was as new and as young as you could be in this profession and was given an opportunity by Coach. I asked Mike for a couple of thoughts on Coach's induction, and he wrote, "He was a true guardian of the game, honored the meaningful impact of basketball had on so many young people. Coach was a winner and a champion, but most of all, he taught me and many young men how to succeed in a program, on a team, and in many aspects of our lives. He prepared us to succeed in the real world. If you played for him, worked for him, or became one of his guys, it was a great badge of honor. We are all better because Hal Nunnally was in our lives. I miss Coach so much, but seeing this incredible honor bestowed upon him makes many of us very, very proud." Thank you for that, Mike. I was fortunate enough to start my time here right at the end of Coach Nunnally's career at Randolph-Macon, and he told me a story once about a young man that he was recruiting out of Williamsburg, and he said, "I really thought this kid could help our program. He was really, really good. But this young man had two very divergent paths that he was considering. One was basketball and one was completely different, away from the game. And the young man was having a hard time picking between the two. And he thought about it, and finally he came back to Coach Nunnally, and he said, "Coach, I appreciate everything that you've done for me and what you're offering me, but I really think in my heart and I've thought a lot about this, but I really think in my heart, I have to take this other path and see where it leads me. And Coach looked him right in the eye and said, "Son, you are making the biggest mistake of your life." And that player's name was Bruce Hornsby. And Coach told me he has never been so happy to be so wrong in his life. Here is tonight's next inductee.
From Roanoke, Dave Smith made his mark almost completely behind the scenes and away from the spotlight, but those whom he helped would have gladly shared some of their celebrity. Dave is a Virginia Tech grad, but began his career in athletics at Ferrum College as that school's first ever sports information director. He briefly switched over to the dark side as a sports reporter with the Franklin News Post, but in 1975 came back home to Blacksburg to start his 40-year run in the Virginia Tech Sports Information Department. Dave has worked with the Hokie men's basketball and baseball programs alongside now fellow Hall of Fame members like Del Curry and Bimbo Coles. But in 1998, he became the primary contact for Hokie football, never straying far from the side of head coach Frank Beamer. He was there for Michael Vick, the national title game, and the rise of Virginia Tech football through the early 2000s. He has been honored by the Virginia Sports Information Directors and earned a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National College Sports Communicators in 2015. Dave was also instrumental in helping to create the Virginia Tech Sports Hall of Fame, and in 2019, he was inducted himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage tonight our next inductee, Mr. Dave Smith.
Thank you very much. I'd first like to congratulate the other nominees tonight in their selections and thank the board for my nomination. I would, the one thing that's bad about having a name like Smith and you get into a situation like that, you really have to wait a long time. And you tend to forget what the heck you were going to say. But I think I remember enough to let you know what this was about. I took a different, I was not an athlete in high school. Most athletic thing I did in high school, I was a member of the William Fleming Marching Band. We marched in the Thanksgiving parade, and we were also marched in the New York's Macy's Christmas parade. So that was quite an honor, and it was pretty athletic. Our band director, Mr. Kitchen, was very, very, very stable. We did all kinds of formations, so we were always moving. But when I was deciding on my college, I went to some people in the business bureau and talked to them about different jobs, and they asked what you wanted to do, and I told them I like writing and like to get involved in that kind of thing. So I went to Tech. I got my major in history, a double major in history, and history and literature. English, and it was a different job. I loved it. I fell in love with Virginia Tech the first time I was on campus and went up there on high school, so I made that my goal. So I decided after finishing college, I was going to try to find a job in athletics. And I went to the job bureau again, and I talked to them and told them what I did and what can I do. And they told me there was a job called Sports Information that would fit the bill. So I made it my goal to learn how to learn about newspapers, and I spent the time 3 years in Franklin County for the News Post, and that was a real treat because Franklin County was known as the moonshine capital of the world in that time, and actually had 2 papers that competed. So the editor for our paper, Red Savior, had been a merchant marine, and he had all the connections in Franklin County. So anytime they were going to rate a still, they would tell Red and not tell the other paper. So there was a real competition in that town, and I learned a lot about the newspaper business. And that kind of helped me to decide what I was going to try to do. I had talked to some people and asked, I knew I was going to go to Virginia Tech, and I'd asked some people what you might want to have as a goal, and they told me about sports information and what I had to do to qualify for that. And that's what all my studies, I passed. And then when I came out, I'm that bad. Yeah. I know, I'm that bad. But but the real important thing was being at the time I spent at Ferrum and worked with Hank Norton, who had won a national junior college championship when Ferrum was a junior college. They were just making the transition to a college, from junior college to college, when I went down there. And I had talked to some people and got the idea and about what I needed to do to learn to get into the sports information field. And that job helped me, and like I said, the Franklin County job helped me. I went up, and Wendy Wisen was the sports information director at Virginia Tech, and Wendy was a legend almost in the sports information field. And I talked to him, and he knew that I loved my time at Virginia Tech, and I wanted to help him out. And I got the job, and I just didn't look back from there. I worked 22 years, I think, before as an assistant, and 18 as the head guy, or vice versa. And it's a different profession. I've worked with you trying to help the student athletes get recognition. You're trying to push your school. but a lot of people in those days, they kind of went out of the way. And what Wendy preached was you be honest with everybody. And that's what we did. I worked with basketball with Charlie Moyer my first 18 years, or first, 18 years. And then I worked, Wendy retired. When Wendy retired, I got the head job. And the main thing I found out is not what I did, it's what kind of a staff I assembled. And we were able to assemble a terrific staff, including good photographers, a good layout person, Ann Panella, and some good writers. Over the time, we used a lot of students, and I have a bunch of people in the audience that worked with me over that time. And it was an interesting time there. During the time working with Coach Beamer was pretty interesting. For all the years I did that, and I'd walk off the field with him after every game, and I was always interested in what he was going to say. Now, we didn't have too many losses. I think I've figured out that in my 40 years, we had only 12 losing seasons, and that's pretty phenomenal. The thing that I enjoyed most was working with the athletes and working with my staff. And I tried to give them as much leeway as I could. I had very good people. We were one of the first schools that really went into having bigger publications and even color in it a little bit later in my time there. And so it really wasn't me in particular that made it really well. It was us as a team of people working together. Now, you know, that period of time, you think of Virginia Tech football was good. Charlie Moyer was a basketball coach. Chuck Hartman, and really, I decided that I would work with football, and I wanted to work with baseball. I'd always liked baseball. When I was at Ferrum, Billy Wagner was there, and Chuck Hartman was not the first coach I worked with. The first coach was Bob Humphreys, who had been a major league pitcher and was waiting to get a job as a pitching coach in the major leagues, but he didn't get it the year he wanted, and Virginia Tech hired him as the baseball coach. Well, Coach Humphreys was a major leaguer, and he was working with college students, and it was fun to watch him. I learned some new words from him as he worked with them, but it was interesting to see. He was a good coach, but the athletes were a little afraid of him, I think. But he did a good, and you could I could tell, and he was really a good guy, but I could tell he was looking to go somewhere else. So he just lasted 1 year, and the next year we brought in Chuck Hartman. And Coach Hartman was a tremendous coach. I worked with baseball the whole time. Baseball's a different sport. The guys are a little bit looser. They have all kinds of superstitions, and it was fun to work with them, and I did worked with them the whole time I was there, and we traveled in vans, 4 vans, and we had the head coach and the assistant coaches drove the first 3 vans, and then one of the players had to drive the 4th van. So that's not a good situation when you got college students. And so the cry on most of our trips was, after our game, all go get in our vans. And I usually traveled in van 4 with those guys. I think Coach Hartman wanted me to calm them down a little bit. Stuff. But I remember them always saying, after they'd gone a distance and they'd turn around and look and they'd say, "Where's van 4? And of course, van 4 pulled off at the first 7-Eleven that we got to, and Coach Hartman knew it, but he put up with it because he had good teams and had good players like Franklin Stubbs and Trey McCoy and just a ton of clubs. Del Curry even came over from basketball and pitched his last year. And then we got a bus. They saved up enough money to get a bus for the team to travel in. And it was a bus, I don't know, back in the days, Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and they had some of these chain gang movies and stuff. Well, it was, and the buses that they got on to transport them. So this bus was just like that one, and so it earned the nickname of Prison Bus. And we traveled in the prison bus the second half of the time I was with Coach Hartman, and we were about as successful in baseball as we were in football, but it was, for me, working with the kids and I mean just riding with them and doing that. But the other thing was getting to the media. And I respected the media. I didn't always like what they read, but you have to say you can't be bothered about that. And I would always tell the kids, because they would take it hard sometimes. They would, and I said, he told it like it was. You just got to realize that and go on and play. Don't let it impede your progress in your sport. So I developed a good rapport with the media, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the thing, and I enjoyed. Because most of our coaches, we made it scheduled just in the state of Virginia. We had we had some trips outside. I got to, I think we got as far as Hawaii and basketball, but I just enjoyed working with them. The media, I could put up. I could put up with the media. I liked the media. I understood the media because of what I'd done, and that was my biggest part. And the thing that helped me be able to help the athletes and the assistant coaches and everything that way. But it was Coach Beamer had told me he was going to retire at a certain time, and I was planning on retiring the same time he did. So he told me he was going to retire the year, and I retired that year, and he decided he wanted to go for another year. So I was happy for him, and I tell you, the people in Virginia, I think the one thing I liked about and was special about Coach Beamer is he believed in playing in the state of Virginia. The other teams, some of the schools didn't want to play. They wanted to go outside and play in other places, and we did. We played in Hawaii, and we had a trip to New Orleans, and we traveled, but it was mostly centered in the state of Virginia, playing all the states, including the University of Richmond. We played them in basketball and several other sports, but I just enjoyed doing what I did, and I didn't do it for any accolades. I didn't do it. I did it for the kids and for the school mainly, and I was happy that most of the stuff that we did was in the state of Virginia, and I appreciate this award, and thank you very much for the night.
Getting into the home stretch, here is tonight's next inductee.
From Roanoke, Paul Woody came from Patrick Henry High to VCU, where he began his journalistic career for the Commonwealth Times, the school's student newspaper. His first professional job was with the Herald Leader in Lexington, Kentucky, but in 1979 he returned to his alma mater to be the editor for VCU magazine. It wasn't long before the Richmond News Leader tabbed him to cover high school sports, starting a career better than 4 decades long of writing all about Richmond sports, eventually writing for the Richmond Times-Dispatch when the two papers merged. In 1980, Paul became the primary beat writer covering what was then the Washington Redskins, and was a fixture at every game, practice, and press conference. He's been honored 15 times by the Pro Football Writers of America, including 7 times as their top columnist. Paul has also earned 3 Associated Press Editor Awards, 10 honors from the Virginia Press Association, and 2 from the U.S. Basketball Writers Association. And everything he's written has come with his trademark wit and occasional cynicism. And when someone like Joe Gibbs calls you a friend, you have done something right.
Please welcome to the stage and to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Paul Woody.
First of all, I want to say to Dave Smith, you are not that bad. You are, in fact, very, very good. The thing about Dave was that you knew you could trust him, and also I think he's going to drive me to the ophthalmologist after this because I'm going to be blind by that light. If you needed an answer and you called Dave Smith, you would get an answer. And that's what you want when you're on my end of the phone. It can be no, it can be yes, but you don't want to have an answer. You don't want to go without an answer and have to sit around and wait to find what's going on. So thank you, Dave. Thank you for all the help you gave to all the media over the years. Let's give Dave a hand, I think. Now, I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping items before I get into the bulk of my speech. As Lane said earlier, this is being sent out around the world via the internet. And I'm pretty sure it's going to an apartment in Bangkok, which is the home of Chris Woody and his wife, Molly Silver. They are there because Molly is a Foreign Service officer, and she's serving her country in Bangkok for at least 2 years. So please welcome Chris and Molly to the show. Chris Long, I want to thank you for the information you gave me about that hotel being abandoned. I've been staying there for years and just leaving money on a counter under a rock. And I wondered why it was so hard to get room service. And it was really good to stay in the summer because it's fairly cool. A little chilly in the winter. So I'm just going to stop staying there. So thank you for that information. And Dennis Bickmeyer and Mr. Vithoulkas, I'm just wondering, I have our two older sons are here. I have two strapping grandsons here. So if you have any more of those big checks, we would be happy to take them off your hands, and we've got the manpower to get them out of the building. So just let us know about that. And to Marty Miller, I'm not going to have to wait a day or a month, a week, or even a minute to know how much this means. This is great. And I hope I don't screw the rest of this up. Past couple of days, people have been telling me, oh, I bet you got a story about this, and I bet you got a story about that. So I was asked by someone to tell you this story. I hope you'll enjoy it. Early in our marriage, my wife and I moved to Lexington, Kentucky. She went to the Library Science School at the University of Kentucky. I went to work for the Lexington Herald and / Lexington Herald Leader. Lexington, Kentucky, as you might know, that's bluegrass country, that's horse country, that's thoroughbred country. Horses are very important out there, and they're treated pretty well. They like to tell this story in Lexington about this horse that one day walked into a bar and walked over to the bartender and said, man, it has been a long week. Buddy, I need a brewski. And he put a $20 bill on the counter. And the bartender swept that $20 bill off the counter very quickly, went over to the cash register and said to himself, what does a horse know about money? So he put the money, got change out of the cash register, gave himself a generous tip, went back over to the horse, put the beer, and put $2 in front of the horse. Horse looked at the $2 and didn't say anything. But the bartender, being a bartender, engaged in conversation with the horse. And he said, you know, we don't get a lot of horses in here. And the horse said, yeah, at $18 a beer, I'm not surprised. Now, I had a lot of jokes in this speech, and that's the only one that made the cut. And in case you're wondering why that joke made the cut, it's because when I was reading this speech at home, my wife really liked that joke. I've been married a long time, and I know the importance of my wife like in a joke. I would like to tell you that I am deeply, sincerely, overwhelmingly, humbly honored to be here tonight. And I'm here because in early September of 1979, my friend Mike Harris, who I'd worked with at the Commonwealth Times and who was working at the Richmond News Leader, called and said, "Hey, we've got an opening here in the sports department. I thought you might like to know." Thought I might like to know, I said. I think I had my clips, my resume, and my references on the desk of Jennings Cully before the end of business day. Cully hired me December 3rd, 11 days before our first son was born on December 14th. 2 more sons followed, although not on December 14th, 1979. That would have been quite a day. Cully was the type of sports editor that you wanted to work for. Once he figured out that you knew how to do your job, he let you do your job. I'm looking over here because these are the only people I can see. And once he figured out you knew how to do your job, he let you do your job. And I was fortunate throughout my career to have sports editors, Jack Berniger, Howard Owen, Mike Harris, Steve Trotsky, Mike Savettis, Michael Phillips, who had that same philosophy. I'm also here not just because of those excellent editors, but I'm here also on the shoulders of numerous colleagues at the News Leader and Times-Dispatch. Tim Perrell, Vic Dorr Jr., and Arthur Utley could do anything at a newspaper. From writing sparkling stories to editing copy to designing pages to running the department. John O'Connor, who's been writing about the Sports Hall of Fame coming to Richmond, and Henrico this week. Henrico, Mr. Vithoulkas, in case you're looking for that check, Henrico. John O'Connor is a walking textbook on how to cover a beat, or 2 or 3 beats, as he always seems to be doing. Earlier tonight, we saw Jerry Lindquist come out as a member of the Hall of Fame, and I want to tell you just a brief story about Jerry. He was a guy who never mailed stories in. Late in his career, he was covering a VMI football game, and VMI, I believe, lost the game in part because a player scored a touchdown, and to cross the goal line, he somersaulted into the end zone. In college football, that's a penalty. So VMI, instead of kicking off from the 40 or 35 or wherever they kick off from, who knows? I've been out of the business for a long time. Kicks off, the other team comes down, scores a winning touchdown or the winning field goal, they won. So Jerry went down, he'd done his interviews, and he went back upstairs, and he thought, I should have talked to that kid who somersaulted over the goal line. Now, he didn't have to do that, because he could have just written around it, he could have just let that go. But he went back down, and he got an interview, he interviewed the kid, and the next Monday he came into the office, and I was going to write a column on that, because I have to say, I think it's a little ridiculous when you tell kids, go out and enjoy the game, it's all for fun, that's important, having fun is important, and then when they do something that's fun, you penalize them. So I was going to write a column, and I talked to Jerry about it, and he gave me some good insight, he gave me some good quotes, and I called the other team's coach, and I asked him if it bothered him that this had happened, and he said, would he have been bothered if it wasn't a penalty? He said, no, it wouldn't have mattered to me. You played the game, and we would have won, or we would have lost. Yeah. I also like to thank David Teal, also a member of the Hall of Fame, now a columnist, sports columnist at the Times-Dispatch, and formerly from the Newport News, for sharing his enormous knowledge of college athletics with me when I switched from covering just the Redskins and writing 2 columns a week to being the full-time columnist. His help was invaluable. Skip Wood and John Packett were Times-Dispatch sports writers. They died much too soon. They offered constant friendship and advice. They were excellent journalists, even better husbands, fathers, and in JP's case, grandfathers. There are people who envy me for the 40 years I spent covering Washington and the NFL as a beat writer and a columnist. But instead of envying me for that, they should envy me for the friendships. They should envy me for the friendships. I've got to enunciate better. That I made. Jim Dusabella, a Hall of Fame member from the Virginian Pilot, became one of my closest confidants. John Keim from the Fairfax Journal started covering the Redskins for the Fairfax Journal and now covers the Commanders for ESPN.com. Earlier today, when I was reading this to my wife, I said he covers the Commodores, and she got a pretty good laugh out of that, and we both agreed that that's a better nickname than Commanders. John Keim is a first-rate reporter, but he earns an even higher rating as a friend and a person. David Elfin, Rick Snyder, and Dan Daly from the Washington Times, Paul Atner from the Washington Post and the Sporting News, and Liz Clark from the Washington Post will be friends for life. They, along with many others, made me a better writer and a reporter. Sports writers, the sports writers I worked with in Richmond were talented, dedicated, ambitious, and tireless. We wanted to be where the biggest stories were, and our editors made it possible for us to travel the region, state, country, and world. I also want to thank my parents, and I'm very sorry that they're not here tonight, even though my mother would be a nervous wreck. My parents grew up during the Depression, and that affected their lives for decades. My father would be proud and happy to see me here tonight. He works his full-time job and year-round part-time jobs to support us so my brother and I could choose the careers we wanted instead of having to do as he did, get the best job available when he finished his 18-month business course to support his mother and other family members. I've always thought the career I have is the career he would have liked to have had. I was a middling high school athlete, good enough to make the team, not bad in practice, but anxious, lacking confidence when I had the chance to play in real games. I was also a teenage boy, which means I was, in large part, a lunkhead and almost completely oblivious to any efforts that basketball and track coaches made to boost my confidence. I was mindful of that when I got the job at the News Leader, and I told myself, hey, lunkhead, how about this time you do everything you can to reach your potential? How about you do your absolute best and see what happens? My wife, the lovely Mrs. Woody, is she still out there? There she is. Lovely Mrs. Woody. Wasn't and isn't afraid of anything. She's a strong, confident, independent woman. She doesn't need me to mansplain anything to her. She's a librarian, damn it, and what a library doesn't know isn't worth knowing. In December of 1979, the only thing between me and the career I wanted was point thumbs itself. No, I wasn't supposed to read that out loud. Was me. I decided, I didn't build in a lot of time for laughter in this, but I appreciate the response. I decided to do the work, never forget that routine questions can lead to good and great stories, write the hell out of those stories when I found them, and see where that took me. And it brought me here. Who would have thought it? I'm constantly amazed at the most important things in my life. My marriage, 3 accomplished sons. They are the notorious Woody brothers, and they are great. 3 wonderfully, equally accomplished daughters-in-law, 6 fantastic grandchildren, and a career that never felt as if it was work, fell into place with almost no muss and very little fuss. And I just want to thank everybody, because I think I've gotten it all.
It is more than a little appropriate that our list this evening began with one of the Commonwealth's most accomplished females, and tonight it will close with one of the Commonwealth's most accomplished females. Here is tonight's final inductee.
From Woodbridge, Monica Wright Rogers has been a winner and leader from the very beginnings of her athletic career. She led Forest Park High in Prince William County to 2 state titles in basketball and was named the Gatorade Player of the Year in Virginia as a senior. She was a McDonald's All-American and the Washington Post All-Metro Player of the Year. She was also a state champion in outdoor track in the 400 meters. At Virginia under Debbie Ryan, Monica was a 3-time NCAA All-American and in 2010 was named by the ACC as both the overall player and defensive player of the year. She is still UVA's all-time leading scorer for men or women with 2,540 career points, and she's 4th all-time with 372 steals. Monica is also the Cavalier record books holder for career and season points per game, career field goals made, and games with over 25 points. She was the 2nd overall selection in the 2010 WNBA draft and made the all-rookie team and was a 3-time WNBA champion with both Minnesota and Seattle. She has coached at both her alma mater and Liberty University and today serves as the Vice President and Assistant General Manager for the Phoenix Mercury.
Please welcome to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, Miss Monica Wright Rogers.
All right, I'll bring it home. It is bright. But good evening, everyone. Like everyone said, I'm honored to be here, recognized with all the other inductees. Congrats to you all. I want to say thank you to the Virginia Hall of Fame Board of Directors, Will and his team for putting this amazing event together. So I currently work in the WNBA, and as you can imagine, life has been very busy. The start of the season is approaching. We just finished the WNBA draft earlier this week, and we're still signing players to training camp contracts. I was very tempted to use ChatGPT, an artificial intelligence app, to help me write this speech. But in sticking to my UVA roots, I adhered to the honor code. Wrote this one myself. Wahoo wah. So I have a ton of people to thank and name. Many are here today, and I don't want to miss anyone. So I'm going to start by saying you don't get to where I am without the help of 3 categories of people. Those that pour into you, those that walk hand in hand beside you, and those that you pour into. I'll start with those that I poured into. All the young people in the room, I may not know you personally, but I want you to know it's okay to shoot for the stars and dream big. I have had the pleasure of mentoring many young men and women in my life, and they push me to show up every day and lead by example and pave the way, a better way for them. Thank you. Those that walk hand in hand beside me through life. All of my teammates from all levels of basketball. Some are here today. Paulisha Kellum, thank you for being present at every pivotal moment of my life. You are my rock in so many ways. Taj McWilliams Franklin, we won 2 championships together, sis. You taught me how to push myself and that anything is possible for anyone. Thank you. And those that poured into me. Every coach I had, you were so important. Your investment in young people is something we can't take for granted. I remember every word, every lesson, and every hug. Some of those coaches are here today. I'll name a few. Royce Keown, Keith Brown, Chrissy Kelly, Boo Williams, Debbie Ryan, Cheryl Reeve, and Jenny Busick. Thank you. Now, I have a rock star cast of women behind me, whom are also here today, and I thank you for being my friend, allowing me to be myself, and loving me unconditionally. Erica, Sandra, Chidi, and EJ, thank you. I would be remiss if I did not mention the men in my life that poured into me and my career. These men never hesitated in taking me under their wing because I was a woman, and they held me to the same standards as men. For that, I'm thankful. Rick Brunson, Coach Cliff, Craig Littlepage, Kerry Green, and James Jones. And then my family. They're my why. My husband, my backbone, Michael, my sweet baby boy, Mikhail, who you heard screaming earlier, my mom and my brother who've always supported me, and last but not least, my dad, who hates flying and could not be here today. Dad, I'm nothing without you and your love. Your investment and support has single-handedly shaped me into a woman who's confident, smart, and wakes up every day feeling like I can take on anything. Thank you. And so I'll leave you with a couple thoughts. So we've all witnessed the recent Women's Final Four and have enjoyed seeing women's sports get the such deserving attention. Yep. So I want to challenge everyone in this room to not let this be a news cycle. Let's all collectively and deliberately continue not to only engage, but invest in this very worthy cause called women's sports. If someone had not engaged and invested in Jill and I, we may have never been up here. Our goal should be to have equal, if not more, women up here in the coming years. And as a woman who prides myself in taking action, I'll leave you with the words of John F. Kennedy: things do not happen, they are made to happen. And it's up to us to continue to make women's sports a priority at all levels. Let's make it happen together.
Thank you, Monica. One last bit of housekeeping here in-house. If we could have the members of the class of 2024 gather over in front of the cutout for a class photo. That will wrap up tonight's proceedings. For everyone at home, thank you for watching. For everyone here, please arrive home safely, and we will see you next year for the class of 2025. So long, everyone.